All right, I'm here with Neil Cohen. Neil, welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you. That's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Neil, can you give us a little background on yourself before we get into the EMF topic?
Sure. So I'll try to keep it brief. I have been studying holistic health for about 35 years, and that has been my main focus on the psychology and holistic health. And the last 10 or 15 years, I realized how incredibly important the EMF issue was and how dangerous it was. And so I bought about $4,000 worth of meters and jumped down a dark rabbit hole that I don't think I've come out of yet in terms of the full realization of what we're dealing with. And so I started going into people's homes and doing remediation and consulting and assessment. And then I created a YouTube channel, not even really knowing very well how to do the videos or whatnot, and just educating people about the dangers of having wireless devices in the home and living too close to cell towers. And all of a sudden, in no time, I have 20,000 subscribers and about 2 million views, which is pretty good for a boring YouTube channel about EMF. It's not bad.
No,
Uh,
actually, I think you have a great YouTube channel, EMF Safety Zone, and that's how I found you. I found you specifically from one video you did where you talked about all these little doohickeys that we try to put on
yeah,
devices, and we really
yeah,
don't know if they work or not. And basically, you kind of cut through a lot of the fluff and talked about the hard facts of what you really do know because you measure this stuff. You know what does work. You don't know all this stuff and how much it really, these little add-on things that we put on devices work, but you do know some other strategies. So we'll get into that, but I want to ask you first, you did a big investment, the $4,000 worth of did you do that because of you were feeling something like headaches or anything? Like what made you go down that path?
I enjoy doing interviews with people like yourself. You're super intelligent and your questions are intelligent. I appreciate that. I went to Costa Rica with a girlfriend looking for an alternative place to live where the skies weren't slaughtered with chemtrails constantly and on and on. We'd stop at a fruit stand and I'd be getting a headache. I felt like my brain was swelling inside my head. And I don't get headaches. And I'm thinking, what's going on? And then we would drive away from the fruit stand around the corner, and lo and behold, there's a giant cell tower or two of them. And I thought, wow, that's weird. Then we were looking at a piece of land that we both liked, thinking, oh, this would be a nice place to live. And I'm getting a headache again. And I walk through the bushes and come out the other side of the trees, and there's a cell tower about 100 yards from the land. Long story short, I just said, I got to buy a meter or something that measures this stuff. And that was it. I came back to the
Yeah.
US, bought a microwave meter, and that was the red pill.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not the smartest guy in town, um, really.
You
But
don't feel you're super technical.
no, I'm not techie at all. But when you own a microwave meter and you just start going around measuring things and you see the ocean of wireless radiation, which is also called radio frequency or microwave, that we are swimming in, it's astonishing. It's an astonishing wake up call because really microwave is not forensically trackable and it's invisible. And so the military can use it, I'll just say, for accomplishing all kinds of effects. We'll leave it at that. All right.
Yeah, that's a rabbit hole, right? Because there's
Yes.
psychological, emotional, physical, all kinds of effects.
I'm
I was
glad.
telling you before the show that I got Lyme's disease about 5 years ago, and that has turned out to perhaps be a military bioweapon that was accidentally or purposefully released. They're doing congressional investigation into that right now, actually. So I'm really happy that something's happening because there are literally millions of people like me who have suffered from chronic fatigue and all types of Lyme's disease symptoms. And we go to doctors and doctors just tell us we're crazy and all this stuff. So One of the things that I came across was Dr. Klinghardt from Germany talking about EMF, uh, how this can affect our physical bodies, and it can activate or allow pathogens to thrive. Can you tell me a little bit about like the literature that shows that there are certain levels of harmful EMF?
First of all, I want to say that I'm well studied with clinical research, but I'm not a scholar, so I don't keep it all in my head. But many years ago, I was telling my friends, I have an email list that's kind of a large email list of people who appreciate my opinions and guidance, nutritionally and EMF wise. And I was telling my friends that I believe the EMF issue was probably one of the number one causes of health issues. And they're all saying, "Oh, Neil, you're kind of radical. You know, that's a little extreme, wouldn't you think?" Well, years later, and I'm nobody who's going to respect me. I'm not a doctor or anything. Years later, Dr. Jack Cruz, who people love all over the world and respect, and Dr. Klinghardt, who I absolutely respect. I really feel he is completely awake on the subject and a very gentle, intelligent creature in his presentation, a real gentle person. They both started saying, carefully, but they both started saying that they felt that EMF exposure was one of the number one causal factors in chronic health issues. And I went, yeah, I knew that about 10 years ago. It's just, I can't prove it. But just myself, just from having emails and phone calls from people around the world, because of my EMF Safety Zone website and my EMF Safety Zone YouTube channel, having all the calls and the emails and people complaining to me and telling me their stories. And just for an example, I've probably had no less than 5 or 6, which is actually a lot. 5 or 6 people tell me they've had migraine headaches for years and years and years. And I told them, just unplug your wireless modem at night. And they call me back the next day and go, "This is the first day that I haven't had a migraine headache in 5 years." Now, that wasn't one example. That's many. And so for me, I don't work too hard to try to convince anyone anymore. I know that a huge percentage of the health issues that we're dealing with is from having Roku and Apple TV modems, which are wireless, wireless mice and keyboard, a wireless printer,
You're
wireless
saying all of
modem,
the like the Bluetooth, Wi-Fi,
all of it.
all of these things
They all
release
add,
harmful EMF or electromagnetic
they
frequencies.
all add to the cumulative exposure. And microwave, why it's not confusing, why I can't think of the right word right now. But see, microwave won't kill anybody immediately.
It,
And lots of people hold a cell phone to their
it's
head.
not like acute,
No,
uh,
no, it's cumulative. So
cumulative.
lots of people hold a cell phone in their head and say, "Oh, it doesn't bother me." I hold a cell phone. If I even on speakerphone, hold it out here and make a call for 2 minutes, I have brain fog for the next 3 hours.
So do you think that you've become more sensitive now that you've kind of cleansed your area and your life?
It's interesting. It's a good question. I don't anymore like to make excuses for myself or call myself sensitive. I have taken a confident stand in that I am normal and that most people are desensitized. So no, I used to be kind of insecure and go, "Oh yeah, I guess I'm really sensitive. Oh, sorry, can you turn your cell phone off when we're in my car?" And, I used to act more like that. And now I just go, "I'd really appreciate if you turn your cell phone off or you can walk." Because no
Yeah,
one's coming in my car with their cell
it
phone
has
turned
has to
on.
do with your sovereignty.
They're not
Um,
coming in my house. I mean, I have a cell phone. I use it every once in a while. All the apps are turned off. Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, cellular data is turned off. And it's in this case where the front of it is a shielding case.
right.
And these actually work, but I won't tell anybody that they will make the cell phone safe.
Right.
When the front cover is open and you make a call, you're getting about 20,000 microwatts per square meter coming off at your body. When you close the cover and you're talking, it does cut it down by about 99%. However, there's still about 1,000 microwatts per square meter coming out around the case into the body. So I won't tell anyone, oh yeah, buy these, it makes your cell phone safe. Nothing will make your cell phone safe. End of story. I'm not
Yeah.
being radical. I don't have anything to sell anyone. Nothing will make a cell phone safe. No sticker, no button. All these people who are selling these things saying, oh, this will protect you from 5G, they're all lying. Or they're innocently ignorant and uneducated.
Right. Yeah, what we have nowadays is an infrastructure itself that pervades our society, our work life, our home life. And this is just kind of off, this is a funny phrase to use, but it's off the radar, because it's just not in the front of people's minds. Their health practitioners are not telling them about it. And so we think because Apple company hasn't been sued for safety issues that it must be safe enough for us to use, and we're sticking these little devices in front of our little young children's heads and so forth. How about microwave ovens in the home? Can you tell me about that?
It, yeah, I'd love to. So we have this innocent little cell phone, right? And if I'm getting my facts correct, I don't like to sound like an expert because I'm not, but I do have some experience. If I remember correctly, a cell phone functions at about 2.5 gigahertz, and that means 2.5 billion cycles per second. That's what a microwave cooks your food at, 2.4, 2.5 gigahertz, 2.5 billion cycles per second. Let's put this in perspective. Walking barefoot on the earth, and you're in a good mood, and you're grounded, and your heart is functioning, basically about the Schumann resonance to be in coherence with nature at about 7.83. That's Schumann resonance. Me and you are talking, our brain waves, and again, I'm not an expert, but our brain waves are maybe 13 hertz. You start meditating, and maybe you're getting down to 5 or 6 hertz. You're falling asleep at night. It's about 2.5 to 3 hertz maybe is delta, where we're falling asleep. And then we're on these cell phones getting hit by 2.5 billion cycles per second. And then people's wireless modems, the newer ones, have a radio transmitter or wireless transmitter that's 2.5 gigahertz. And then some of them have an additional transmitter in them that's 5 gigahertz, which is 5 billion cycles per second. And those are on in people's houses 24 hours a day, bombarding the immune system and the brain and the heart. And number one symptoms that I hear from people, and I hear from a lot of people, so I have my finger on the pulse of this, brain fog, ringing in the ears, heart palpitations, all the time.
Yeah.
I think 2.5 billion cycles per second on a wireless modem, and then affecting a heart that is a very subtle electromagnetic organ, and the brain is electromagnetic. So we're bombarding the natural native environment that we evolved in with what Jack Kruse calls non-native EMF.
Well, that makes me think about this concept of forest bathing in Japan. They call Shinroku or something like that, where I guess part of the concept is that trees are somewhat of like everything in nature has an electric kind of life force, and that instead of being in a city type of environment where you're around all of this EMF, forest bathing would be like you go into a natural environment where you're not being bombarded with all that fake artificial type of electromagnetic frequencies, and you go into a nature environment where you're actually getting shielded from harmful and probably being boosted by nature's own natural resonance.
Yes, and that's going to be the future. People ask me what I see in the future, and I'm not really a doom and gloom person, but I don't think I need to be terribly intelligent to see clearly that we're going to have a splitting apart of the ways where a lot of people will feel very comfortable in microwave saturated cities going along with a transhuman agenda. I'll just leave it at that. And there are people who are moving more along the path of intentional communities and being more in nature, growing their own food, considering the reduction of the wireless radiation. That's kind of how I see it right now.
Yeah.
And mostly my days are spent supporting people in reducing their wireless radiation exposure. And I don't think I'm going to save the world. But when I have one person on my YouTube channel contact me and say, wow, I watched your videos. I have a 4-month-old child who crawls around my office near my modem. And, you know, now I've hardwired my computer. Thank you so much. That makes me happy.
Yeah. You're making a difference just with that.
One
Plus,
person at a
not to
time.
mention the people who have chronic migraine headaches and you just gave them a simple tip and now they have relief.
Yeah.
Now, Dr. Klinghardt talks about how we have other types of pollutants in our environment, such as aluminum, and in our food supply, like glyphosate or something like that,
Glyphosate. It's
glyphosate.
a lovely
And
Monsanto chemical.
he described how if you were like an intelligent scientist and you wanted to try to come up with like a trifecta of these 3 different type of pollutants that would work in coordination with each other, it would be like the perfect toxic soup for humanity to make us physically, mentally, emotionally compromised. So one part of that trifecta was the EMF, and then the other was aluminum and glyphosate. You've talked on your channel about cleansing or detoxing your body of aluminum and stuff like that. Can you tell me a little bit more about that and maybe about what Klinghardt said and what are your thoughts on that?
Sorry, I have a fly flying in my house here. Klinghardt is absolutely correct. If you want a perfect recipe for bad health, that would be the chemtrails that are being sprayed in the sky, the aluminum and other nanoparticulate metals that are being sprayed in the sky, eating non-organic food, commercially produced non-organic food that has glyphosate and other pesticides in it, and then having wireless devices in the home. I do not understand how anyone could not have challenged health from those 3 factors. They're very, very insidious factors. And so I tell people all over the world, all the time, eat 100% organic food with no exception. Only eat in restaurants that serve organic food. No exceptions. Reduce your wireless radiation in your home. And there's supplements like diatomaceous earth, liquid silica, organic sulfur crystals. These things help reduce the aluminum and other toxic pathogens that are dropping out of the sky and that we're eating from food. There's lots of other ones, but I don't want to bore you going on to a whole list of them. But iodine and sulfur, diatomaceous earth, liquid silica, these are excellent for reducing the heavy metal content in the body.
I think you also mentioned chlorella on your channel before as well.
I take chlorella every single day. It's affordable. You can get it on the internet. I get raw organic chlorella. I mix a heaping teaspoon in water and drink it down every day. It's just no big deal for me.
Mm-hmm. So some people might not subscribe to the idea that there are chemtrails, but there is aluminum in vaccines and in deodorants and probably just in the air naturally from different pollutants. So I guess it wouldn't hurt just to try taking some chlorella or one of those supplements and seeing if you feel a difference. Do you feel? Let's talk about your own health and your own experimenting with these different supplements. What have you noticed, and what have you felt over the years trying different things? How do you know if aluminum's coming out of your body? Have you measured that at all?
No, and I've wondered about that. I've actually, on the dark side of the issue, um, I've actually wondered if doing, oh, I wish I could get rid of this fly. This is embarrassing.
No problem.
Um, I've actually wondered if the supplements can keep up
Right.
with what we're breathing in the sky. By the way, the chemtrail issue is not conspiratorial. It's patented, it's provable. The military and government has already admitted that they have a geoengineering program going on. So there's all kinds of stuff falling out of the sky. Um, I can only do the best I can with the supplements. I feel better using them. I've used them for 30 years, so I can't tell what they do anymore.
Right.
I just use them all the time. I wouldn't be without them.
Hmm.
And all I can do is hope that they keep up, keeping the body somewhat healthy and somewhat balanced, in the environment we're in. But, I've taken a stand. I mean, people invite me to go out to dinner and I go, well, I don't eat in restaurants. And they go, what? I don't eat in restaurants. If we're going to go somewhere that serves organic food, I'll be happy to hang out. Or I go to people's houses, and they're going to make food. And I don't just keep my mouth shut to be polite. I go, is what you're making organic? And if not, I don't eat, or I bring my own food.
Yeah, could
I
be a
took it
hard
a
subject to
long time.
broach, but it's an opportunity for teaching if people are receptive to it.
Mm-hmm.
What are some things people can do right now in their home to start taking steps to lower their exposure to EMF?
The number one thing that has to happen is, and I'm concerned about this not happening because so many people I talk to say, oh, well, my kids need the wireless to do their homework on their tablets. I have college students, I have high school students, or, like you said, I have a tenant that uses the wireless. In these situations, there's nothing I can do to assist.
What about a router guard? Does that help?
Yes. Yes, those are one of my number one sellers on my website. But point being, the number one step a person can take is plugging the computer into the router, into the modem with an Ethernet cable, and then disabling the wireless option on the router. And then get rid of, I was going to try to pull my mouse up. Oh, there we go. Like try to get rid of a mouse, wireless mice, and use a USB,
A
use a
wired
USB
kind.
mouse.
Yeah,
Uh,
you had a video on your channel where you show people they have to actually go to their ISP, the internet service provider's site, and click on disable Wi-Fi. That even if they just plug in, the Ethernet cable from computer to router, it doesn't mean the Wi-Fi is not still going. You have to actually disable it.
That's actually true. And some people will have a button on their modem or router that turns the Wi-Fi off, and most people don't. So just because you plug an Ethernet cable in, that means you're getting the Ethernet to your computer, but the modem is still blasting
Right.
wireless radiation. So you have to go into the wireless management options and disable it. And then some people do have the 2.5 gigahertz to disable and the 5 gigahertz to disable because Comcast and other telecom companies want to turn your whole neighborhood into a hotspot, and they'll transmit it from your modem.
Right.
It's insidious. So
Yes.
reducing the wireless radiation by getting rid of cordless phones and just using a regular phone that you can't walk around with. It's very important. The radiation from a cordless phone is exactly like having a small cell tower in your house.
Right.
Literally, I'm not exaggerating at all. I've measured cell towers with my microwave meters, and then I've measured a cordless phone sitting on a person's desk, and it's the same measurements.
Yeah, having one of these meters is really helpful to know what's going on in your home. Otherwise, you're just kind of guessing.
I
Um,
tell I tell everyone I'm not trying to sell them meters because I do sell them all over the world. It's my agenda is not to sell people things, but I tell everyone in this day and age, a microwave meter is like a seeing eye dog for a blind person.
yeah.
You have to have a good quality microwave meter to assess and discern an environment if you want to live or work in a somewhat healthy situation or environment.
And how about dirty electricity? Can you explain that?
When you have electricity running through your home, it's a clean 60 cycle per second sine wave. You know, the wave of electricity, and that is a clean 60 cycle per second sine wave, and that's what we call electricity. I don't think there's much research that that clean sine wave is dangerous, but all of us plug in a computer, or we plug in a refrigerator, or we plug in other appliances, and immediately when you plug in other appliances, it creates a feedback against that electricity, and then creates all these harmonics that are running along that 60 cycle per second sine wave. So if you saw it on an oscilloscope, you get that nice clean wave, and then you get these jagged harmonics all running along that wave. And those are high frequency transients or harmonics between roughly 4 and 100 kilohertz, approximately. And that dirty electricity is what's coming out of people's walls. And then that electricity wants to ground through the body, since the body is water. Dr. Magda Havas, who's a PhD, feels that she's actually found a third type of diabetes that she feels originates from dirty electricity. So
You mean just walking around in your house near your lamps and your outlets and stuff?
correct.
Or when you actually touch the electronics?
No, literally, you can measure electric fields coming off of the wall for about 1.5 to 2 feet off the walls. And most of us sleep with our bed up against a wall, and those electric fields are grounding through the body all night long. So it's why I tell people, and other EMF professionals and building biologists tell people, move the bed away from the wall about 2 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Or turn the circuits off in the bedroom at night.
Okay, that might be hard for people to remember. That would be one solution. You also have some products where people can plug something into the outlets to have clean electricity.
The SATIC, SATIC, it's not static, it's SATIC. That's the name of the company. They make highly efficient and very refined filters that plug into the wall, and you use 2, 3, 4 of them, and they remediate the dirty electricity. They dissipate the dirty electricity off the 60 cycle per second sine wave. So you're still getting some electric fields, but the dirty electricity is cleaned up. And they've found that children with ADHD, ADD, some violent behavioral tendencies, they calmed right down after dirty electricity was remediated from the home. So it's another EMF issue. But to be very brief, microwave radiation is called high frequency radiation, right? The dirty electricity is just below that in frequency. Then you get the regular low level EMF, which is electric and magnetic fields that are down lower. So it's all the same electromagnetic spectrum, but at different frequencies. So when a professional goes into a person's home, they assess the wireless radiation, which is microwave. They'll assess the dirty electricity, and they'll assess the low level electric and magnetic fields. That's a basic assessment.
Do you need 3 different meters for that, or
Yes.
one? Okay.
A lot of people will buy, and again, I'm just giving my opinion, but a lot of people will buy meters that measure all 3 fields. Some people will buy a tri-field meter, okay? And it has a setting on it for microwave, for electric fields, and magnetic fields. It's kind of an inferior meter. And so I tend to guide people to get a dedicated microwave meter, and then get a separate dedicated electric and magnetic field meter. And then if they want to measure dirty electricity, they need to get a Stetzerizer meter, which is a dedicated meter for dirty electricity. Those are the 3 meters that any professional would have.
Can you tell me about the magnetic? I mean, what type of, if you need a dedicated meter for it, what are some of the devices or problems that people have with the low level magnetic?
When you measure a desk lamp, or a lamp standing in a room, and it's not turned on, you can go up to it with an electric field meter, and that meter will show that there are electric fields coming out of the lamp because there's a hot wire in it. There's a wire with electricity ready to flow in the lamp, but there will be no magnetic fields. When you turn the lamp on and electricity is then flowing through that lamp, then you get magnetic fields spinning off of it.
Okay.
So if you take a magnetic field meter and go up to a wall and measure a wall outlet and there's nothing turned on, there will be no magnetic fields. But there will be electric fields because there's hot wires in the wall.
Yes.
Then if you plug something in and turn it on, then you'll see the presence of magnetic fields spinning off the electrical field.
There are two things I wanted to mention to get your thoughts on. One is that I've heard the recommendation not to have a bed that has a metal wiring in the box spring or whatever you want to call it. That basically that would be creating a conducive environment for these negative electronic magnetic frequencies.
Yeah, a conductive environment.
Right.
Conducive and conductive. So you have, let's say you have a metal bed frame and or you have a mattress with coil springs in it, and you have that up against the wall, and then the electric fields coming out of the wall will conduct through the metal coils, and it will increase one's body voltage, which is not going to hurt anybody in a week or two or a month, but after a while, the body is not designed to have high AC voltage. Our bodies are DC, more like a battery. And AC is an alternating current, which is not terribly natural. So for me, I have a nice LED camping lantern that I like, and I keep it on my nightstand. It has 3 large batteries in it, so it lasts for weeks. And I turn the circuit off at night in my bedroom. And I don't watch TV or listen to music in the bedroom, so I don't have anything plugged in.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's because the sleeping environment's important to preserve and to be
Very
conscious
important.
of.
Our bodies have to get 8 hours of undisturbed sleep, and most people are sleeping in a bedroom where a lot of people have their modem in their bedroom, which is just sheer insanity, or they have the modem a couple bedrooms over. But when you have a radio frequency meter, it immediately becomes revealed that a modem, even 2 bedrooms over, is going right through the walls.
Right. That's why it's nice to have a meter to really know what is the level of exposure that you have. How about the idea?
Can I offer something else quickly?
Yeah, sure.
I'm very uncomfortable with this, but I like to tell the truth, and we all need to be educated. So I figure that people watching your channel, they watch your channel because they want education. And again, in my heart, it's heavy to have to say this, and I don't like being the one revealing this, but for those who live in Europe, I think they're called a flat. Here in the US, it's called a condominium or an apartment. When you live in an apartment and you have neighbors on both sides or on top of you or below you, everyone is exposing each other to their wireless devices through the walls.
Right. Yeah. Just look at your phone and see all the available networks.
You can see the networks. And then I might be in my cozy little bedroom and feel like it's private. And I could be sleeping with my head against this wall. And then on the other side of this wall, it could be the person's wireless modem and my head is 3 feet from it.
Right.
Or it could be a cordless phone on their nightstand and my head is 3 feet from it.
Right, right.
You know, then, so that, let me just say this. At this time on the planet, it's no longer a healthy choice to live in an apartment or condominium. And I'm sorry to say.
It sounds like even living in a city and walking through the streets is going to be high exposure of EMF.
I've told people, I'm gentle about it because I'm not a radical and I'm not a doom and gloomer, but I've told people you need to start considering evacuating populated areas. Yes, it's terrible. Yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it's inconvenient. But once you walk around a city with a microwave meter, you see what I'm saying. I'm not saying anything radical at all. Customers say to me, am I going to see things that I don't want to see when I buy this meter from you? And I say, yes. It's going to be an
It's
uncomfortable
almost a
psychological
guarantee.
awakening.
How about like the surface of the thing behind you, like these marble and different granites and stuff that might have radioactive material? Have you looked into that?
I do. I have a Geiger counter. The radioactive material, understand that is ionizing radiation, um, like nuclear byproducts, plutonium, uranium. That's ionizing radiation. That's extremely dangerous, and you need a Geiger counter to measure that. Wireless radiation is non-ionizing radiation. And so you get these, and please forgive me, these so-called highly intelligent physicists and scientists and college students who will write me these nasty comments on my EMF Safety Zone YouTube channel and say, oh, you're such an idiot, you're misleading people. Non-ionizing radiation does not have the power to break genetic bonds. Well, they're so intelligent that they're repeating textbook information that is old, outdated, and wrong. And independent scientists, doctors, and researchers from around the world have proven conclusively that even low levels of microwave radiations is genotoxic and is capable of breaking genetic bonds. And they're losing, it's almost like you can't even tell the difference between ionizing and non-ionizing radiation anymore. So people used to think, well, the sun is ionizing radiation, that'll damage DNA, or a nuclear explosion. But oh, your wireless modem, it's such low power and it's non-ionizing radiation, it won't harm you. Well, that's false. So in terms of
Yeah,
the,
well, it's something that if you're wrong about, there's a big liability for your health. So the way I view it is, sure, do your due diligence, do your research, but why not err on the safe side?
I agree.
And not take risks for yourself and your family and your neighbors.
I agree.
Um,
Now remember, with the, just to go back with the granite counter, you're not sleeping on it. And I'm not an expert on radioactivity. All right, but there is these interesting little new age pendants that, oh, I might even have one here. Yeah, people send them to me. This is, you see these all over Amazon and eBay, and this is some kind of ceramic volcanic material, and it's sold as a scalar energy pendant that will protect you from EMF. Well, I've measured these with a Geiger counter. They are radioactive. And the people who sell them say, oh, well, they're not dangerous. But let's just say wearing this thing over the thymus gland for a couple of years, that might not be a good idea. So I did a
right.
video on my YouTube channel, and people swear by these. They love them. Oh, it gives me energy. I'm like, yeah, it probably does give you energy. The thing is measuring about 2,200 counts per minute on a Geiger counter. That's not small. When you
So it could
measure a
be
piece of,
just altering the natural electromagnetic balance of their body.
some people think that a little bit of radioactivity is healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to argue with it. I would just err, like you said, on the side of caution, and I wouldn't want this thing up against my skin. But handling it, radioactivity is not coming off of it. It's just that this is a Chinese made device, and they probably put in some thorium and uranium or something into it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care. They
Yeah.
sell millions of those every single day. So there's a difference between ionizing and non-ionizing radiation. One is not sleeping on their kitchen counter. The radioactivity doesn't come off the granite and onto your skin.
So just touching it, that there's a risk.
I don't think touching it is a risk. I think it's more how the proximity. But again, I'm not really an expert on radioactivity, but maybe putting food on it and cutting, I'm not sure.
Right. Once again, you could err on the side of caution and not use radioactive surfaces for your food and body. How about 5G? This is something that's a big hot topic because We've got 5G being rolled out worldwide right now. We've got the Americans basically trying to outlaw Chinese technology from the 5G rollout, which is an interesting kind of turn of events. You hear a lot of really alarmist type of information about 5G and it being harmful for the human body. What are your thoughts on 5G?
Once again, I'm not an expert. I do have, actually, I'm going to just stop the sentence right there because I was going to reveal something that I don't want to reveal. I get information from a couple different sources, and the 5G is probably going to be worse than 3G and 4G. But what I like to tell people is it's all microwave radiation, whether it's 2G, 3G, 4G, or 5G, it's all man-made, pulsed, modulated, toxic, genotoxic, carcinogenic microwave radiation. So it's all dangerous. Yes, the 5G is probably going to be pushed out harder. It's probably a stronger signal, and it's a different protocol. 5G does not refer to 5 gigahertz. 5G just means fifth generation. And most 5G right now, according to what I'm being told, is still using 3G and 4G frequency bands. And in the future, it probably will go up to 24 or 60 gigahertz. I asked someone in the industry, well, where's the higher frequency of 5G right now? And I was told that it's in the wireless modems that they're putting in schools that's 60 gigahertz. It's called Y-gig. I cannot validate this information, but I have heard other YouTubers who are dispensers of truth, saying that it's commonly known that Y-gig is going into schools, and those transmitters will be in the halls or in the classrooms, and the kids will be sitting there with 60 gigahertz 5G wireless modems.
Wow, that's disturbing when you put it in the context of our conversation today. Especially that it would be kids, because they're developing their bodies and their immunities and everything. This is thing that just keeps going through my mind as I talk to you, is this idea of being immunocompromised, of just the fact that breathing in the particulates and eating the processed foods and working in these toxic environments and living and breathing and just like being in this toxic environment all the time, that your immune system, I'm sure if you're like super healthy and everything, you're probably resistant to some of these things. But then over time, like you said, the cumulative exposure is just going to work away. And of course, you'd probably see higher cancer rates and things like that. What are some of the long-term effects of the cumulative damage?
In my heart, I just wish that the work I do in terms of education will help some people hear the information, intuitively get it, or do their own research, and then take action. Because if people don't take action, they're going to wait till symptoms become their messenger. And that hurts my heart. That makes me sad, of waiting for symptoms, in a sense, to slap you across the face. And then you go, oh, wow, maybe I should have not had a wireless modem in my house.
Wait until you're dying.
Thank you. I'm trying to mind my manners. This wireless issue is so severe and so dangerous that I find myself, when I'm being interviewed and talking to people, I try to mind my manners, but I have come to grips with the reality of what I call collateral damage. You know, when the psychopaths, and I'm saying that without respect, when the psychopaths start wars, and they know exactly what they're doing, you know, Vietnam or World War I or II and all that, they always know there's going to be collateral damage. That's a word used in war. You know, we're going to Iraq or whatnot. Oh yeah, there's going to be collateral damage. Well, I've had to adjust myself emotionally and psychologically to understand that I'll help as many people as I can. I'll give of my time as generously as I can, but there's going to be collateral damage.
Yeah. what we have happening is more of a soft war that maybe might not even be on people's radars. They might not see it and realize that we're at war. But we are.
We
There's a
are.
psychological war, an information war, and there's a chemical war. And some might even say the COVID-19 and everything is part of the biological warfare that's going on. Well, what's really interesting about that is that in Wuhan, it's like the first 5G city or something like that. And there's been, since the Spanish flu, evidence that, this could be related to um, electromagnetic frequency.
Arthur Furstenberg wrote a book. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting something about the invisible rainbow, I think it's
Yes,
called.
that's right.
Um, and he very intelligently ties in global epidemics to the increase of microwave radiation in the atmosphere, starting with when telegraph first came out, and then the atmosphere being more and more electrified with microwave radiation. And it is very possible that the coronavirus is connected to that. I won't say, oh, well, 5G created it. I'm not brave enough to say that. However, what I have been told from sources is that the 5G will absolutely lower one's resistance.
Right.
So in that way, it can be very related. Other people think it's directly related, and it just might be. So again, I don't like to get in big arguments. I'm not a big doom and gloomer. I just keep telling people, look for more rural areas to live in, cut down your wireless exposure, don't live near a cell tower, don't buy those cheap little stickers on the internet that tell you protects you from 3G, 4G, 5G. They're all lying, or they're just innocently ignorant. Those stickers that go on back of the phone will do nothing, because you take a meter, and I'm kind of a little bit of a scientist in my own way. I'm of course not a trained scientist, but you put one of those little stickers on your phone and then you hold up a microwave meter, it will never change the readings on the microwave meter at all.
Right. That's
At
really
all.
the proof is
Whereas,
in the pudding there.
so, this is cool. It just looks like a baseball hat. But what's funny about these is, it's a radio frequency shielding baseball hat. It has high content silver fabric all in here. And so if I have a wireless device over here and then I put a meter inside the hat, I can see the meter drop down by 80 to 90 to 95%. And so
Right.
wearing a hat like this, we can make jokes all day long that's, oh, it's a tinfoil hat. But the reason this is real is because it has physical high content silver fabric inside of it. So I can measure before and after results.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with people saying, shungite and tourmaline, and I wear this pendant or I have this bracelet, they don't create any difference in measuring the strength of microwave exposure.
Right.
It
And I
might
was
help the
just
body a little
thinking
bit.
about, if you're in an apartment complex and you want to guard yourself at night, you could sleep in like a sleeping bag type of thing where the material's covering your body, right?
Yes, you could sleep in a sleeping bag, which I've designed them. They're ridiculously expensive, but I designed probably the world's first non-toxic radio frequency shielding sleeping bag out of merino wool and cotton, and completely sandwiched in between the merino wool and the cotton is a very high quality Swiss shield shielding fabric. But yes, a sleeping bag or a shielding canopy
Oh
that
yeah,
hangs
over the bed.
from the
Yeah.
ceiling, and it's unfortunate. They're very expensive. I can't stand, hurts my heart again telling people, yeah, here, this is $1,600, but these kind of tools are necessary for the times we're in because people need to get sleep. And so sleeping inside one of those shielding canopies, you can easily hold a meter outside the canopy and look at the measurements, go inside the canopy and see the meter drop down to almost nothing and go, oh, well, that works. And it's
What
provable.
What are your thoughts on Orgonite?
I think Orgonite's cool, but I get people all over the world asking me about it. And I think it might harmonize an environment on subtle levels, or wearing a little pendant, might be decent for the body, but it's never going to put an aura or a shield or a bubble around anybody and stop 5G or 4G or 3G from penetrating into the body. It'll never happen.
Right, right. So you really go for the protocol of shielding rather than trying to um, just have these little things that penetrate the environment.
I was a distributor of a particular EMF protection device. I won't name it. I was the USA distribution center for it. I probably would have become wealthy if I stuck with it. I would never tell customers, this will protect you. I say this will help by its positive frequencies, that it's giving healthy frequencies. It will help reduce the stress of exposure. That's all I would say. So I could sleep at night and feel good about it. And people did say they felt better using them. But the inventor and the owner will always say, oh, you don't believe in our products, because on the website, he'll say protects from 3G, 4G, 5G. And I go, I'm not going to tell people that. So I quit selling them, and he got someone else to do the distribution, and they are becoming millionaires.
Right. Well,
So
like
to
that's
finish,
a good
sorry.
motto for yourself, is you got to make yourself proud in your life. The moral choices that you make. It sounds like one of those cases.
Yeah, I had to choose what was moral. And for me, just to finish answering your question, yes, shielding fabric, shielding paint, shielding clothing is just scientifically provable
Right.
with
And
meters.
measurable, and you can get the meter and you can find out for yourself.
Yes.
Can you tell people, I'll put links below and everything, but maybe you could tell people about where they can find you on the internet?
Yeah, my nonprofit website is emfsafe.org. There's some information and resources there, where I provide very high quality meters and various EMF protective clothing products, is emfsafetyzone.com, emfsafetyzone, all one word.com. And then my YouTube channel, so people can gain a bit of education, is EMF Safety Zone on YouTube.
Great. Thank you so much, Neil, for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.